I've been singing professionally since I was 14, 15 years old.
Yep.
Started out doing kind of parties and weddings and that kind of thing, and tried to get more and more into that the further I got in, and then I started doing restaurants and that kind of thing in London, and got on the jazz scene in London as much as I could.
Okay.
But I haven't done music my whole life. It's been sort of an on and off thing depending on...
Just a mix mash of all sorts of things, really.
Yeah, all sorts of things within the music business, but I've also I worked in law for a couple of years when I was younger. And
Has that helped you out with being within
it has
the
actually,
industry?
Yeah, enormously. It sounds silly, but being ruthless in law helped a lot with making sure that I got the right gigs, and
definitely.
You can be messed around in the music business a huge amount, and people take advantage of
take advantage of anything if they
when they can, because people think that she can sing, so she can just do that job, and we don't need to pay her, she's having fun on stage, but there's a lot more goes into it than just standing and singing. Yeah,
contracts and deals and stuff I guess have changed quite a lot, from when I started playing music and going in to do my degree, and there was part of my degree that was talking about business, and I remember them saying something about they were introducing 360 deals.
Yep.
Which that was a few years ago now, so I imagine that's all changed, but there was money coming from all parts of an artist's income, and obviously merchandise, tickets and other things, so it obviously is something that people want to try and capitalise on and make a lot of money from, and I guess you got to know a little bit about law.
And you've got to be able to say no to people when you think, so many people will say, it's going to be a great opportunity, and you'll think, blimey, that does sound like a brilliant opportunity.
Sometimes you've got to do your own research, I guess, a little bit beforehand.
You do, and you've got to be sceptical. It sounds pessimistic, but unfortunately in the music business, on stage, yes, you have the enthusiasm, you've got the smile that everyone wants to see, but actually behind that you have to be able to put your foot down when you need to, and knowing the law side of that does help enormously.
Fantastic. Okay, it looks like we're all ready to go and all ready to set up. Do you fancy playing a few tunes for us?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Am I on this mic, or...?
You can take that one with you, yeah, I'll take that one over there. Thank you.
Okie doke. We've not got keyboard at the moment.
Yes.
Can you volume up? There we are. We are quite quiet. Can we have a little bit more volume? I'm sorry. Thank you. You feeling weary? What's worn you down? How's melancholy? You wear a frown. Your mind is wandering, and you start to fall. The house is oh so big, the door so small, pillars are crumbling, foundations creak. Design was oh so strong, now rendered weak. I never knew what my house looked like until I took a walk outside. You'll never know what your house looked like until you take a walk outside. The door is open, so let's take a walk, see the whole picture, then we can talk. there is no riddle, no riddle, just advice to a friend. Know yourself well, the confusion will end. Pillars are crumbling, foundations creak. Design was oh so strong, now it's rendered weak. I never knew what my house looked like until I took a walk outside. You'll never know what your house looked like until you take a walk outside. You'll never know what your house looked like until you take a walk outside. You'll never know what your house looks like until you take a walk outside. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna do another one, I believe. And this one is one I wrote when we worked it out, didn't we, before we came on? I was 13. And it's kind of a sort of a Latin-y, swingy, changing it up kind of thing. I sort of started writing properly when I was about 7 or 8. And not much has changed really in terms of that, but this is one from when I was at school. I was 13. It's called Photosynthesizing. Hearts are photosynthesizing. I don't see why you are sizing me up when I am down. Pay no mind to past happenings. We made our changes, pulled some strings. It helps to understand. Whoa, why is it that my brain tells me one or die? But when you're back, feels like you're on a different airstream to me. We walk along and people look. It seems to me my pride you took, and with you went my soul. I have a shamed interior, but outside my exterior appears under control. Whoa, why is it that my brain tells me one or die? But when you're back, my heart says something completely different. It says laugh a lot, smile a lot, do what you can do to get it notice you. It tells things emotional in the door, just do whatever you can do. Laugh a lot, smile a lot, do what you can do to get it notice you. It tells things emotional in the door, just do whatever you can do. Thank you very much. Should we do one more? I think we're going to do one more. Shall we do... Oh, we'll do another one of mine. Let's do the jazzy, slow, jazzy one. This... yeah, that's the sausage. We'll just go straight into this one. It doesn't take much explaining in terms of the sentiment. Unlikely would it be that you might one day find me, or that our paths would cross one day somehow? You would hope that surely, yes, given how we clicked, you'd guess that our lost old feet would lead us face to face. Either way, that's how we ended up meeting one day. Counting blessings, counting days, counting all the different ways that you effortlessly make me smile. Now and then I'm sometimes blue, but since I've been seeing you, the days I've been down have been noticeably few. Either way, I thank the stars or some other cliched answer that means we'd end up meeting one day. Meeting one day. How we came to be, but I don't care. It was so extraordinary. Who cares what thoughts may be stirred when we say that that's how we ended up meeting one day. Counting blessings, counting days, counting all the different ways that you effortlessly make me smile. Now and then I'm sometimes blue, but since I've been seeing you, the days I've been down have been noticeably few. Either way, I thank the stars or some other cliched answer that means we'd end up meeting one day. 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 Thank you. Would you like another one? Okay, we've been asked to do one more. Crikey, what shall we do? Should we do a cover? Let's do a cover. Why not? Something cheery after all that melancholic stuff. Let's do. We're going to cover "Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic" by The Police. I've tried before to tell her of the feelings I had for her in my heart. Every time that I come near her, I just lose my nerve as I've done from the start. Cause every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turns me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. 'Cause every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turns me on. 'Cause even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. Do I have to tell the story of 1,000 rainy days big enough umbrella, but it's always me that ends up getting wet. 'Cause every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turns me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. 'Cause every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turns me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. I resolved to call her up 1,000 times a day and ask her if she'll marry me in some old-fashioned way. But my silent fears, they grip me long before I reach the phone, long before my tongue has tricked me. Must I always be alone? Whoa. 'Cause every little thing she does is magic, and everything she do just turns me on. And even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turns me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. Every little thing she does is magic. And everything she do just turns me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turns me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now I know my love for her goes on. Thank you. Cheers, thank you.
Georgie, would you like to come and have a seat again? Thank you very much. Would you mind us taking some questions from the audience?
Yeah, no problem. If you've got questions, ask away.
Does the audience have any questions? Have we got any questions over there in the corner? Would anyone like there's the opportunity to ask some questions now? It's Georgie? Yes, we can bring a mic over. Okay. So when
am I next performing?
Next performing? Yes.
Well, currently, in terms of public gigs, I don't have a thing in the diary. All of the work I'm doing at the moment is private functions. So, well, thank you. I appreciate it enormously. At the moment, it's just waiting to be asked, I suppose, or possibly I should go out and hustle some public gigs. But at the moment, I'm busy, but I'm busy with private stuff, lots of weddings, lots of parties, which is great. But in terms of getting my name out to the public, everything's starting to simmer down.
I noticed that you were sort of singing a few of your own songs. Is that something like sort of in the near future that you plan to do more of and release more of?
Yes, at the moment I'm actually I've been very fortunate. I've had a couple of investments from some people who have decided to encourage me to do an album.
Okay.
Which was kind of always part of the plan, but I didn't think I had the experience of publicity and that kind of thing to do that as well as I could. And now, thanks to, I suppose, being on The Voice and being used to, the cameras in your face and understanding how to present yourself to the public, I've got some great musicians together, some of whom were in the band for The Voice, actually. The musical director, he's going to be my piano player for it.
Yep.
So the next big job, is getting that album done, and that's going to be all my stuff. So that will be range. It's kind of going to, my idea is to have, the first song doesn't sound anything like the same band as the next song. It's going to be a real kind of range of and variation of styles, and because I'm a jazz singer in terms of my tone, but I don't really write anything in particular in terms of a genre. I've done some jazz, and I've written some pop and soul, and And
I guess when you were on the show, you were tested to sing a variety of kind of different things. Well, in a way.
Yeah, but that was tricky on The Voice, because they sort of had me on board as the jazz singer.
Yep.
And then they asked me to do that Aretha Franklin tune, Say a Little Prayer, and they said, you know, we want you to do it like the original.
Okay.
And I just thought, I could sing it like that if they wanted, but you know, they got me on there as the jazz singer, and
Yep.
I thought, if I've got that label, I'll stick with it.
Yeah.
And so I did an arrangement on the day for that performance with the band, and it was great fun. I think.
Yeah, I did watch it. It looked absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
It was really good.
It was great fun. I'm glad I left on that night. Actually, though, it was good. It was ending on a high.
Yeah, no, it was a really good song, and it was a shame actually, because you have got an incredible voice, and it is a really, really lovely voice. And you know, my music passion really is down to rock, but I've got a friend who's a great jazz drummer, and when I was at uni, he introduced me to all these different jazz things, and it really is sort of kind of a great genre, and it really is, like, you know, for singers like yourself, it sounds absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
No, that's not a problem at all. My next question to you would be something, you know, obviously you've gone through all this, I guess all these challenges that you faced with shows like that and The Voice and everything like that. But would there be any advice for anyone else sort of wishing to sort of take a similar path?
That is an interesting question. It's a tricky one. It's a very personal choice, and it's also a very you can make of that experience what you make of it as an individual.
Okay,
so
and like from that, like, you know, would your best advice say, you know, just to sort of kind of get involved in anything that you can, you know, just sort of taking recording opportunities on, writing your own music, performing as much as you can.
Definitely, perform as much as you can, gig as much as you can, but also don't, you know, if you've got an opportunity. So for me, The Voice was a good opportunity. It was good fun.
Yep.
But I didn't have anything riding on it, so I didn't give up my career. I made sure I was working alongside it.
That's good.
And there were a lot of people in the competition who had, you know, they'd left their jobs
to
do this competition, and that is that's a big commitment, and you're setting yourself up for a fall. So my advice with regards to, you know, going on television, it's a very different industry to gigging. Very different.
The competition's quite
and I'm not used to that competitive attitude in music. That was quite.
I can imagine it can be quite scary as well. Quite, like, you know, there's a lot of. It can be quite overwhelming. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, and there's a lot to take in. It wasn't for me. I was quite relaxed throughout the whole. I surprised myself actually with how chilled I was throughout the process. But it can be. You've got cameras in your face every day from 6 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. You here, there, and everywhere. You can have 3 hours of being told, "Oh, you'll be on in 5 minutes."
Yep.
And you're sitting there going, okay, hang on, it's
a lot of waiting
10 at
around.
night, what's going on here? And then suddenly it's all systems go, right, we need you in for warming up, we need you in makeup, we need you in, in for styling.
It can be quite tricky.
It can be.
Like you were saying as well, though, with keeping your job secure, I think that's obviously something that we touched upon earlier. So I remember someone mentioning, you've obviously got to have your income. You've got to be making, you've got to be paying your bills, and obviously that is a priority to an extent. But obviously you've got to follow your passion and your music.
Absolutely.
And
well, if you're not fortunate enough, like me and a few others, in terms of music is my job.
Yeah.
And I work freelance, and I've worked in schools as well, not with music, but with deaf kids. I'm a signer. And I can work peripatetically, and I can afford to fit that kind of thing around my work.
Yeah.
But if you required 4 days at a time with no prior notice, other than maybe a couple of days, or you can be called up that morning and say, okay, we need you in rehearsal now.
Yeah.
If you've got a 9-to-5 job, it's impossible to do that. And some bosses can be very understanding, which is great, but the whole process went on for. And I didn't even stay throughout the whole competition. It went from April to April. It's a year-long thing.
Yeah.
It's only televised from January to April, but we were working on everything from a year before. So, that's tricky. From a professional musician's point of view, I'd say, yeah, keep your work going.
Yeah.
Don't have anything riding on that sort of competition. But if you're doing okay as a professional musician anyway, you need to think, do you need it? Would you cope under those circumstances?
Yeah.
Because it is really early starts and really late nights.
Yeah.
And also, you are opening yourself up completely to scrutiny from members of the public who have never met you.
Yeah.
And that, you can slip up one sentence on camera and suddenly everybody has a different view of you.
Yeah.
And so there are lots of different things to consider.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I mean, for me, I've been a drummer, professional drummer now for about 10 years, and I do a lot of studio work, functions and that kind of stuff, similar to what you were just saying. And you know what, I know what you mean, like you know, sitting back and just enjoying music, and I'm sort of kind of, I guess, not in the limelight, really, like just like being the drummer, I'm always at the back. But it's nice because I can manage my music and I can do all the various different things without that scrutiny, like you said. But like, I guess I agree with you. It totally is a challenging thing to be involved in that. You know, is there, you know, obviously with your original music coming up, with the albums that you want to record, do you have a particular time when you want to sort of move that, like, you know?
Things are underway at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm currently chatting with someone who's going to arrange my music for me.
Okay.
Because I can't read lines and dots.
Okay.
I can't read music.
Right. Well, that's interesting. It's sparked up an debate for many people I've spoken to about having music theory as something, or music notation as a skill. I mean, it's an interesting debate. Like that's interesting to know. How did you get into music? Like without reading, like how?
Well, I'd never had singing lessons. Okay. Still to this day, I've not had singing lessons. But I did learn to play the saxophone when I was young, so I learnt the basics of music.
Okay.
But my theory, so for me, theory and reading music are two very, very different things.
Yeah.
So anything to do with the technical side of music with regards to what you're hearing, chord changes, modulations, cycle of fifths, you know, all of that, I know. But put a piece of music in front of me, and it's scary for me. It's really frightening, and people do assume that, and because I play the piano as well, but I do all of that by ear.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And my singing too, and that's practice, but it's all by ear, which is a strength of mine, and people who rely solely on reading say, oh, I really wish I could do that. Yeah. Well, I prefer to have the balance, because people, you know, I'll be at a party and someone will say, can you play this?
Yeah.
No. Play it to me over some speakers, and maybe 10 minutes later, I'll come and play it to you. But I, you know, put the dots in front of me, I'm a goner.
What would you say to the people that, you know, maybe starting off in music that are a bit worried about the whole music notation? Because I teach music, and I sometimes see a lot of students panic when you put dots in front of them. Same thing happens. I go, oh, dots. But, you know, the minute, you know, you would sing the melody to them or you would tap the melody, they could easily recall it. But is there anything that you would suggest that could help them?
Well, for singers, there's a lot less pressure on that anyway, because you're listening and repeating. With instrumentalists, it's harder because, you know, if you want to be, for example, a successful saxophonist, you're going to probably end up working with big bands, and you need to be able to read dots for that. So, you know,
depends where you want to go with it, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, and that comes down to the teacher's responsibility as well. That's very key. That when a kid comes to, because I have my own teaching practice, and I make it very clear from day one to my students' parents that if what your kid wants to learn is, you know, to read music, to get the grades, tick those boxes, and make those milestones, then I'm not the teacher for you, because I don't have any grades myself. I wouldn't be able to help with that. Yeah. But if they want to learn to understand music better, be able to write, gain the confidence to perform, learn techniques that will be invaluable in later life for negotiating gig fees, working out where you're supposed to be when, musicianship.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
That I can teach, but my advice, I can only really give advice to singers
Okay.
about your question, because that's the only experience I have really, and I can only sort of draw from that. But it would be not to succumb to the pressure of I've got this grade, what grade are you?
Yeah.
And to listen to a lot of music.
Okay. Yeah.
Listen to as much music as you can, learn from that, try to understand the harmonies, try and work out, what harmonies you would change if you were to perform that song, how would you make it your own?
Yeah.
And being confident as an individual. Someone else might have a better voice than you in terms of their tuning or their pitching or the strength of their voice, but if you can bring that individuality, that's what catches people's eyes. Would
you generally say better, or would you say different?
Well, different, I suppose.
I would like, because I agree with a lot of things you're saying there, like it not being about competition and listening to a lot of music to expand your knowledge and your repertoire. That's definitely important. As if you want to be a great musician, it obviously is. You need to have, even if you're not playing classical music or anything like that. I listen to classical music myself. I'm not a classical musician in any way, but I enjoy it and I get things from it. I get inspiration from it. And obviously, it's nice to know the history of music as well.
I think that is incredibly important. When people find out that I'm a jazz singer, they assume that all I listen to
is jazz. Yeah, Miles Davis
jazz.
Every day.
Not at all. There's very little jazz on the playlists that I would shove on in the car, and it's a huge range and huge variation of what I find inspiring to write to, even though what I'm going to end up writing is nothing like what I'm listening to. What you said about the competition element, and what I mentioned, on a one-to-one basis with students, keeping your individuality, not feeling threatened or intimidated by other children. That on The Voice for me was bizarre, because music, I think, is all about having fun and enjoying it
and sharing it, I guess.
Sharing it. And when I went on The Voice, a lot of people had the attitude of, I'm here to win.
Right.
So that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's kind of just that sort of, they had their blinds on and they're just sort of going for the win.
Well, and people became very competitive, and I didn't enjoy that. So, advice to someone thinking, should I go on The Voice? I was asked to go on, and so I had an opportunity to consider, okay, is this going to be a good opportunity for me? What can I get out of this? What am I going to lose because of it?
Yeah.
But a massive consideration, if you're thinking of going into a televised competition like The Voice, would be you need to be able to sometimes isolate yourself in order to stay away from that competitive aspect.
Yeah,
because it can be brutal, and it takes the enjoyment out of music, and that's why we do it. We do it to have fun, and that's so important to remember. If you're doing a gig with 2 people in an audience,
right,
and you can put the same amount of enthusiasm into that performance as you would to an audience of 2,000 people. If you can have fun doing it, those 2 people will have a brilliant time watching you.
Yeah, the energy. It's all about, I think, all about the energy when you're on stage. Totally agree with you. Whether you're doing a pub function or whether it's Wembley Arena, the energy definitely needs to be there. Yeah. And obviously that, you can see that in someone's body language.
You can.
I've been there at gigs where I've been absolutely tired, got back off holiday and literally had to jump straight into a gig and be energetic and be
Well, it can be
confident.
soul-destroying. It can be so difficult sometimes, especially when you're tired, especially when you've been working hard, if you've been teaching all day, or even if you haven't. If you go to a gig with an expectation and that expectation isn't met, it can be really hard. And same with expecting to get more work out of work, if that makes sense. Turning up to a gig thinking, okay, this is going to be good, I'm going to hand out tons of business cards, I'll get loads more gigs from this, and that doesn't happen. That can be soul-destroying. Yeah. And that's where the sort of ruthlessness needs to come.
And being persistent, I guess.
Being persistent, because if you're going to be a musician, the most important thing, and I stand by this, is having good fun, but it is so key that you bear in mind, this sounds really pessimistic, that you bear in mind that you will face rejection on a daily basis. And if rejection is something that you can't cope with, or something that you find hurts you or damages your performance,
Yeah.
then, you know, enjoy music, keep it up as a hobby, but you know, making it your career is a big step.
Yeah.
If rejection is something you find difficult.
Totally, yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, there's hundreds of opportunities that I imagine that you've had in the past before The Voice, and obviously some you've had, some you succeeded with, some you haven't. But obviously that's created like who you are today.
Yep.
And that's really good to see, because you know we're glad that you're here. Like, you know, amazing performance and a great voice. So thank you very much for that.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here. Give it up for Georgie.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Okay, and next coming